Welcome everyone
Hello.
to the Winner's Circle of Caribbean Central America. Today is May 22nd, 2020, and we're in for a treat. We have two very special people today, James Bovell and Kim Lund. I will introduce them properly in a moment. But even before we do that, I would like to welcome all our members and also some special guests that we have. We have people from St. Martin and other countries and islands as well. From St. Martin, I just met Marcia and Shirley. I'm glad that you're checking us out. This is our community. This is our team. RE/MAX is not for everyone. We're looking for people that are entrepreneurs, team players, go-getters, and we have the highest respect for everyone, but we understand that our community is not for everyone. So check us out and decide if this is for you or not. Our speakers for today are Kim Lund on the left-hand side and James Bovell on the right-hand side. They are here at a recent event in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the ARC4 convention, and they are receiving, their well-deserved awards from Adam Contos, the guy in the middle. Adam is the CEO of RE/MAX at the global level. So, James, Kim, good morning, welcome. How are you guys doing?
Morning.
Doing great. Good morning.
Doing well, thank you.
Glad to hear that. Thank you for being our panelists today. And Christina will keep an eye on the chat box. So if anyone has questions that they would like to ask, please write them down in the chat box. So James, Kim, you have so much to share. You were the first RE/MAX franchise outside the United States. And when I talk about Cayman Islands, I always like to say, don't take credit away from these people. Because some people say, well, yeah, they are so successful, but that's because they are in the Cayman Islands. If I was in the Cayman Islands, I would be killing it too. And it's like, no, you probably would not. It's like, it is a very difficult place to do business in, highly sophisticated. Clients are extremely demanding. Competition is fierce. Most people fail in Cayman Islands, and these people have succeeded for over 2 decades. So we're very proud to have you aboard. Starting with the questions. And James and Kim, this can go any direction that you want, okay? But I'm just gonna open a question to see how it goes. Any original thoughts that you have, or what do you think that agents should be doing during the quarantine?
Sorry, Kim. He's older, he can start.
Sorry, what was it? Ricardo, could you repeat the question again? Sorry, it cut out on me.
Yes, of course. And Kim, this can go in any direction that you want, but what do you think agents should be doing during the quarantine?
Okay, I mean, this is a perfect time for everyone to look at their business, figure out, they've got time now to figure out how they can improve. This is a very difficult time for everyone, no question. I mean, we're all unsure of exactly how this crisis is going to impact us and our business. So this is your chance to take time, read like crazy, read everything you can possibly read about your business, about what's happening in the world around you. Make sure that you understand what is going on, and every article that comes out about the economy, about your island or your country, about doing better in real estate, about marketing. Just use this time for self-improvement. This is your chance to take some time for yourself and learn how you can do your business better, so that when we come out of this crisis, you've gone through basically an educational program to improve yourself, and you haven't sat around watching Netflix or doing jigsaw puzzles the whole time. Obviously, we have to do some of that because We all have to live and we still have to enjoy ourselves, but this is a very difficult time. It's up to you what you do with it. You can either make it profitable and worthwhile time for yourself, or you can waste the time away and just kind of wait for this crisis to end and not really have gained anything by the downtime that you have right now in terms of improving yourself and making yourself better. Exercise every day, exercise whenever you can, because events like this can knock you down and weaken you if you don't stay strong. So just use the time you've got now to better yourself, whatever that involves, and don't use the time foolishly and not take advantage of a chance you have right now to come out of this thing and be stronger than when you went into it. And that's a goal, is to be stronger coming out of this than when you went into it. And James probably has some other ideas too, but we'll talk more about this as we go through this Zoom call.
Wow, you have given us many, many nuggets, gold nuggets. Thank you. I put them down. Okay, James, we're going to go with you with the same question, which is what should agents be doing during the quarantine?
Well, I think Kim really nailed it. I think the truth is that we're the fortunate ones, actually, because we've got an awesome brand. And I think the truth is that if you actually do a little research and actually see what's going on with other companies and stuff, what you'll realize is a lot of them are sitting on their asses and they're not investing in themselves or their education or bettering themselves. And I think if you're doing that, you are definitely on the wrong side of this, because you will miss an absolute golden opportunity where the world is frozen and you have the ability to look back, reevaluate, do a 360 on yourself, do a 360 on your company, and really position yourself coming out of this in a really good way. We're all having to look at our budgets, whether it's personal as a salesperson or whether it's as a company, and reassess what is really needed versus what is not needed. So this opportunity gives us time to kind of reflect on maybe things that we could be doing where there's waste and where we could be more efficient. Ultimately, with a downtime like this, training, absolutely, technology. If you're not getting familiar with tech and the new ways and opportunities to do things, you're missing out on a golden opportunity. Dario, last week, it was funny because he and I had talked on a global thing about leveraging Zoom for presentations. And it was really interesting. I did one to a couple just at the beginning of the week, and they were presenting a development. And at the end of the day, you'd be amazed. Afterwards, the one thing that came out apparent was that they said, James, whatever we buy, we're going to work with you. And I've never had that, quite as intense from a phone call. And we're all dotted in the Caribbean and offshore. And a lot of our client and customer base comes from onshore. And so this gives us an opportunity where we can literally be, in their living room. And it's kind of funny because I was in their living room and it was the two of them talking to me while their daughter popped in and got to say hello as well. So it was just the most unusual experience. And I think really you want to be an expert. And this is one of the things that a lot of the RE/MAX people have been talking about. It's not the tool itself, it's being able to master it. And I think that's absolutely critical. Kim talked about exercise. That's the physical side. Then there's the mental side. If you're not keeping yourself mentally upbeat, positive, proactive, excited, and looking to the future, and you start dwelling on your challenges, the negativity, what other people are doing and you're not doing, and all of this, again, you're going to be on the wrong side of this puppy. So you need to be mentally very, very strong. Physically, you want to be very strong as well. Education is absolutely critical. A couple other things you can do at this time is stripping out your database and really kind of getting down to the people who add value to your business. I think one of the most interesting facts, and this is just historical, it doesn't matter who you talk to or when you talk to them, but if you look at most people, they invest more money in going after new business than they do in actually looking after the clients and customers and the relationships that they've built over the years. It is the saddest thing. And I look at myself and I say, I mean, it's a mirror, right? I'm talking to myself when I say this because I'm just as bad. And I know that I'm up to, I think I'm like 80+% repeat customers and clients. So, you know, why am I spending, you know, $50,000 marketing to new business when I should be really thanking these people and being very, very grateful for their business? And then the other thing right now that I would say, while you're in quarantine and you can't move, you've got phone, you've got Zoom, you've got email, you should be calling every single person in your database. We've gone back now, we've hit, we're back to 2009, and we're going back to every transaction we did to get in touch with the buyers and the sellers, and also hitting our database as well of people that we work with and our customers and clients. Because ultimately, and by the way, it's a soft call. It's not about business. It's just to check on them, see how they're doing. And I cannot tell you how grateful people are for that call. And you know, weirdly enough, I can't call everyone. I mean, Kim, you know, he has a database that's a good, you know, thousands of people, and I'm similar. I have, you know, 5,000 people in a database, but I can't call them all. But you know, people on my team are calling them, and they still appreciate it. So don't feel that necessarily has to be you. It's about you know, demonstrating and showing that you genuinely, you know, you are interested and you care, right? So, sorry, I kind of went on a roll.
No, that's great.
Thank you. That was extremely valuable. Thank you, James. And I would like to invite everyone to turn on the speaker view. It is a button at the top of your screen. It says speaker view. With speaker view, you will see the speaker large and everybody else small at the top of your screen. So James, that was very valuable.
Ricardo, I would like to ask a question, you know, going off of what Kim and James both said about being mentally strong during these times. What books do you guys recommend? Do you have any book recommendations?
What book?
Books.
Books, yeah.
Okay,
I know
James, you can take this
reader.
one. I'm pretty much reading articles and staying current on online on anything I can read currently. I've read lots of books in the past, so James, maybe you're a little more current on answering that one.
Man, I'm telling you, you pick on the dyslexic person, man.
Between the two of us, that's probably
the worst question
you can ask.
I know. I think, you know, I think by the time I was 17, I think I'd read like 8 books in my life. I'm not a huge book reader, but what I can say is that it's funny, you know, one thing, you know, I found it very difficult at school, but I can tell you this, I spent a lot of time educating myself on my business. And so you find your passion, and that I'm prepared to read up on, that I'm prepared to take lessons on in education. And so I'll take in different ways. It might be in videos, it might be conversational, it might be videos. Maybe I said that. But also, I mean, right now, I mean, the last book I just gave everyone in the company, Kim and I actually gave everyone, was right here. It's actually the Stephen Covey. It's the 7 Habits of Effective People. So, you know, I mean, there's a whole number of books that we've used. One I would say from a mental standpoint, one of the best books, and I love it, and I everyone in our company has it. It's called the Energy Bus, and I don't know if you've read it, but that one is a really great book, and something that it's an easy read. My God, man, I actually picked it up and I was on 3 plane rides and I finished by the time I landed where I was going. And I can assure you, I don't read like that normally. So there you go, my tip.
And Christina, I would like to add something. It is that books are only one way to learn, right? But I have known James and Kim for 20+ years. And one thing that amazes me is that they always attend the RE/MAX events. And I think it is very interesting because they are always there. And it's like they are top producers. They got it. It's like probably they don't have anything to learn, but they are always learning. So there are many ways to learn. And I see that the people that are successful go to the events, and the people that are not successful don't go to the events, and they say, oh, when I am successful I will go to a convention. And it's just the other way around. It is when you go to events, you develop yourself, you read, you study, you watch videos, you affiliate with the right person, then you become successful. So that was a good question, though. We have to be learning all the time. These guys, you know, James and Kim, they have been through a lot. They have been through natural disasters, personal challenges, a lot of competition, unfair competition, but they're resilient. They would succeed anywhere. So that takes me to the next question. I believe that there are some specific things that work in any crisis, whether it is a personal crisis, financial crisis, natural disaster, pandemics, or anything. There are some specific things, some ways of thinking. From your previous experiences, James and Kim, what works? What's the mindset that propels a person forward during the most difficult times?
You want to start?
Okay,
You
I'll
want me to
jump.
start? All right, you go.
Okay, I'll jump in on this one as soon as I move my dog off the table here. In 2008, during that financial crisis, I mean, you can always draw similarities between what we're going through now and what we went through then. For me, 2008 was probably the worst crisis in my lifetime. For me personally, I was overly leveraged. I had about 20 properties in Cayman that I had bought all on leverage. So I borrowed money to buy these properties. I was basically operating to perfection at that point in terms of all the money I was making was enough to live off of. I was doing very well, and it was enough to pay all my mortgages, which were, you know, 20 some mortgages at that time. When the 2008 crisis hit, just like this crisis is hitting, all of a sudden, my income dropped 80% for 3 years. So if you're making $100,000 and used to living on $100,000 every year, imagine for 3 years having to live on $20,000. And that happened to me for 3 years in a row. So all of a sudden I couldn't pay my mortgages. I had no money coming in. I mean, I'm down 80%, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought the crisis would last only a little while, maybe a few months, maybe a year. It dragged on. And similar to that crisis, I mean, we don't know how long this crisis is going to go either. Hopefully it's not going to go on as long as that one did, because that was a disaster. But how I got through that was I had banks calling me every day, every other day. I didn't want to take those calls. I had other people calling me that I owed money to. I didn't want to take those calls. I mean, it was just a miserable time. I answered every one of my calls. I responded to people. I kept in touch with them, as difficult as it was. Anybody that called me that I wasn't available for, I returned their calls. And it was 3 years of hell, but I got through it. And the reason that I got through it is I knew it was going to get better. I knew that at some point in time that the market would head back up again. We're in a cyclical business. Things go down, markets go down, markets go back up again. So my complete focus during the hell that I was going through, when I couldn't even pay mortgages and the bank is ready to foreclose on my home, I kept thinking it's going to get better, and I need to be physically and mentally prepared for when it does get better, because I need to capitalize on the loss that I've just gone through. And we all need to think that way. The biggest mistake you can make right now is spending a lot of money on marketing or promotion during a dead period. And let's face it, right now, most of us are in a dead market. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be out there marketing and promoting yourself, but do it in a guerrilla style. I mean, do it smart. don't be spending money. Conserve your cash right now as much as you possibly can until you see yourself starting to get out of this. In the meantime, do a lot of personal promotion. Like I said, during the crisis that I went through for those 3 years when I was really hurting, I was running around our golf course every day for exercise. I was staying physically fit. I was staying mentally fit. I was reading. I was looking ahead. I was still doing marketing. I was still going out to events. As far as anyone knew, I was still in the game, even though I was hurting the way that I was hurting. And some of you probably right now are hurting also. The bottom line is you have to look ahead. You have to realize it's going to get better again. It's going to get really good after this. And you need to be in a position where you can capitalize on that and not have spent all your money where you're barely surviving and barely getting by, and just be smart about how you operate during this crisis. Still, like I said, promote yourself, market yourself, do charitable events, do anything you can to get out into the marketplace to show you're still there, that your business is still there when this market comes back. But don't be spending a ton of money advertising, marketing, doing new promotions and things like that. Conserve your cash until you start getting out of this thing so that you survive it. And then, like I said before, you're stronger coming out of this than when you went into it.
Thank you. That was very good. Thank you. And you have insisted on cash management, and you have said preserve your cash. And you know, I always say cash is king. And when I talk to our brokers and agents, they say, yeah, but you know, I already cut back on all of my expenses. Well, yes and no. It is not only that. It's not only cutting back. It is knowing where you are. We are very fortunate in our company, you know, at the regional office, that we have an unfair advantage. We have Jaime Gonzalez, who's here on the line, and Jaime, you know, he takes care of our cash flow, and he's a lot more strict than I am, and I appreciate that. And this is the time in which you need to know your numbers. You need to know where you're standing, who owes you, where is money coming from, what are you spending on, how much there is in the bank, what do you need to pay. First, you have to be very careful, and that is a science. It is called cash management, and it is very important. Do not bury your head in the sand. You need to be aware and on top of things, including cash flow, cash management. Okay, James, we're going to you with basically the same question. What's the mindset that propels people to move forward during a difficult situation?
I think at the end of the day, primarily it's an attitude. You know, it's a never give up attitude. It's like, it doesn't matter what you throw at me, how hard you hit me, I am just not going to back down. And I think our company, our agents feel that way. They're being proactive. All of us are in our businesses. And I think that, you know, one of the worst things you can do is back off. You know, with respect to marketing, I think one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to fade away. So you've got to make sure that you have presence, because the truth is that everybody else is completely shutting down their marketing. And so if you still have something to say and something to market, something that you feel you can sell in this time, or yourself, like Kim was talking about, then you should invest in that, because they're going to remember the ones who were consistent all the way through this. Historically, you know, after through the different slowdowns and crises over the years, Kim and I, we try to keep some reserves always. And so what happens is we know that agents at the end of the day are going to be more conservative when they're going through a crisis with their marketing budgets. And our feeling has always been that we wanted to make sure that our company had presence within the marketplace. And so we've always kind of held reserves so that we would be in a position to continue pressing the marketing so that we're kind of gaining ground as everyone's backing off. It's not that we're spending more, it's just that we're able to continue longer. And also relook at things, because you've got to keep in mind your marketing dollars should be going further now. You should be able to negotiate harder with the parties who need those need the funds. So you've got to pay for the services, right? So I think it's kind of a strategy at the end of the day, and it's bode well for us historically in that respect. But ultimately, it's an attitude of just there's no way that they're going to put us down. And I think we all feel that way. I mean, hell, man, we're all here on a call, spending our time trying to learn something, get a nugget from one another, and take it to the next level. But don't ever give up. Fight till you believe in yourself, believe in what you do, know what you do has value. And as much as people look negatively on real estate agents and brokers as a whole, our industry, I can assure you, they look at everyone else the same way, man. Everyone points fingers at every industry, whether you're a banker, lawyers, oh my God, sharks, you name it, right? So don't worry about it. They need you now, definitely. I mean, like everyone's saying, more than ever, because what they're looking for, buyers and sellers, they're going to be less likely to use someone who is not committed, who's not professional, someone who's part-time, someone who's doesn't necessarily have a huge amount of history in the marketplace. The experience is helpful, but that doesn't necessarily mean just because you're new to the business that you can't leverage the fact that you're new. But you utilize your energy and your excitement to be in the business. It's a great time to learn, Christ, man, to go into something. And also, I think, you're going to find that going through something like this, people have life changes. And so I think you might find that, there are going to be some more agents that come into the business who maybe roll from other industries because they recognize that what we have to offer is just an industry of flexibility, where you set your own goals and your own targets. So anyway, I think it's a huge opportunity to basically, the other thing, sorry, I should point out one fact that Kim and I have found every slowdown. Our market share goes up when the market contracts, right? Whereas in a buoyant market, our market share generally dwindles a little, right? And the reason why is that there's so many people coming into the industry and everyone thinks they can do it, and everyone has one relationship or two relationships, or their family give them a listing, because the market's so good, it's easier to kind of transact, right? And ultimately what happens is these people are taking that one deal, two deals away from you. And when you look at it as a market as a whole, we know perfectly well that, in our industry here in Cayman, we had an extra 75 agents join our association. We went from 180 to 240 agents in the space of 14 months. And, imagine each of those agents is taking one deal, maybe two. That's 150 transactions in the year. And if we're doing 30% of the business, that's 50 deals that have just come out of our books, right? So, now is a really great time where you should be able to grow your market share as an agent and as a broker.
Love that. Thank you. Very, very good points. And I want to encourage everyone to please type in your questions in the chat box. Guys, I know that you have questions. I mean, with these speakers, I know that you have things that you want to ask them. Please write them down, because I only have one more question, and then we're going to go to Q&A. My last question.
Ricardo, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, and the last question that I have for our speakers today is, Kim mentioned that when this is over, the market is going to be great. And I call that the slingshot effect. It's like, okay, we're going to go fast and it's going to be good. But Kim, what do you see? What's your vision? What do you anticipate happening in the next 1, 2, 3, 10 years in the Caribbean and Central America?
Sure, good question, Ricardo. I mean, typically after a crisis, especially a crisis like this, which, there's been a few of, but not a whole lot where we've actually stopped almost completely. I mean, 2008, 2009 was probably the the most recent one where it was somewhat similar to this, where there was fear and panic the way we're seeing it right now. What typically happens is that there is a pent-up demand that builds. Nobody's really doing anything right now. If you are, I mean, good for you. I mean, from probably about the middle of March, I was having my best year ever. I mean, I was doing more sales, more business, January, February, the first half of March than I've ever done in the 30 years that I've been doing this with Remax. And within a week, my business dropped off a cliff. I mean, I went from having my best year ever to having my worst year ever in a period of a week. Since about the middle of March or so, I haven't done one sale. All I've been doing is trying to hold sales together right now, try to keep some of them from dropping off. Right now, there's a lot of fear and panic still in the marketplace, but also a lot of uncertainty. I mean, let's face it, a lot of the people we deal with can afford to buy homes and condos and investment properties. What they're doing right now is sitting on their hands because nobody knows how this is going to unfold. Everyone is kind of getting an idea right now, but we're not there yet. So that's where this pent up demand is building. I mean, we all can't go from doing business to doing no business without a backlog starting to build up. There's still people out there that want to buy properties. There's no question about that. They're scared right now, and they're not sure what's going to happen. So what's happening is we're building up a pent-up demand that will be satisfied as soon as we start pulling out of this. And it's happened through all the crises in the last 30 years that we've gone to. It's been very similar to that. Plus, the economy of the U.S., the economy globally was good. The U.S. economy was extremely good, and most of us are somewhat reliant on U.S. tourism and investment. So coming out of this again, there's obviously going to be pain in the U.S. around the world as well as our markets. However, they're going to recover, and they're recovering at least from a strong fiscal base, strong financial base than what in 2008 they went into, where it was a lot different than that, and the whole global financial market was starting to melt down, and economies were weak and weakening at that point. We went into this crisis with a very strong economy. Most of us in our countries had a strong economy. The U.S. had a strong economy. So the bounce out of this should be quite good. I was reading articles on Yahoo Finance, CNN Money, Bloomberg Business, and every day I read articles about the economy, what's happening, anything to do with the real estate industry. This is where all of you can stay ahead of the curve as well by staying current on what experts are saying, what people are saying. Most of the experts at least in North America, in the US market there, are saying it's going to go through the roof when we get out of this crisis. In other words, there is so much pent up demand now that they see the housing market, they see the real estate market booming as soon as we start pulling out of this crisis, which hopefully, with any luck at all, will be later this year. Once we get into the fall, once we get into winter season, which tends to be our best seasons in the Caribbean and Central America, things hopefully should be pulling out of this crisis. The market should be improving, and you should see a groundswell of demand at that point, because all these people that have wanted to buy properties and were interested in buying properties and would have bought properties haven't been able to, for all the reasons that we're all well aware of in this crisis. So going forward, our region is a high demand region. We're considered safe now. Also, generally, our taxes are pretty low. With the fiscal stimulus that these governments in North America, in Europe, around the world have had to do, I mean, they're printing trillions of dollars of money. That has to get paid back. I mean, in the US in 2005, the debt ratio was about 39% to the gross domestic product of the US. So in other words, what the US produced, they had about 39% debt ratio. Now, after the stimulus that they've just put into the US, it's 108%. It's unsustainable. You can't have more debt than money that you're getting in. It's like going to the bank and you owe $1,000, but you're only making $900. How do you pay $1,000? You can't. So taxes in the developed part of the world, USA, Canada, Europe, are going to go through the roof in the next 5 years. That's going to drive a lot of business to the Caribbean. These people, because of the demographics and the baby boomers, most of these people are either retired or semi-retired. The ones that have enough money to travel and go to the Caribbean, which is most of them, will more and more start gravitating in our direction. So the upside for us over the next 5 to 10 years is extremely positive, mainly because of things beyond our control. Increased taxes, wealth taxes being charged in the US, Canada, Europe. These people are going to want to get out of that and have a different residence than their home country. And that bodes really well for us in the Caribbean. So I think if all of you can survive and be strong and stay in this business, promote yourself. I mean, write articles for newspapers, stay on social media, let everyone know you're still out there, but don't be spending a lot of money to let them know you're out there. And as things start improving, and it will, by the end of this year, as far as anyone can see, and nobody has a crystal ball, I know, but by the end of the summer, even to fall, we should start coming out of this. I mean, in Cayman, we've got 121 cases of coronavirus that they found here. Not one person is in the hospital. I mean, so initially everyone panicked. I mean, there was this severe thing. Everyone thought if they got it, they're going to die. I mean, as more information comes out about this virus and its severity, it seems like the impact is going to be a lot more muted than what we've had so far, and economies will start opening up again. So my message to you is, again, stay strong, use this time to your benefit. Don't waste this time. It's easy to sleep in. I know I've done it a few times, and enjoy yourself and just kind of take a vacation. At the same time, think ahead. You're going to come out of this thing. You're going to have a strong market as we come out of this thing. Make sure you're ready to take advantage of that and make up for all the lost income that we've had during these, 6 to 9 months that we're going to be dormant here, and take advantage of that, because the next 5 to 10 years in the Caribbean and Central America look like one of the best places in the world for being in the business that we're in.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man. I'm going to go back to the recording and re-listen to this part. That's cool. James, what do you think the future is going to bring? 5, 10 years, what do you see in the future?
I think Kim painted a pretty damn nice picture, man. I'll go with that one.
He's an economist or something?
I mean, he's true to his word, man. He spends a lot of time doing a lot of research on these things. He's very, very familiar with what's going on globally. So I think, when you ask about what to read, there's your answer. He's just giving you a list of places to go and where he does his research to keep familiar with what's going on. And to piggyback on that, the areas that I see things happening is that one thing that Cayman was really enjoying before, and I'm sure most of the Caribbean was as well. And right now, this is just an exact example. So you want to use this situation as a prime example as to why. And one of the things is that the customer, at the end of the day, has the ability now to work from anywhere in the world. We're doing that right now with these calls. We're getting used to it. We're interacting that way. So people can choose a lifestyle rather than necessarily being forced into living in a jurisdiction that they necessarily don't want to. They can go and live in the sun, which we all have a lot of, right? And which is what they want. So it's a lifestyle choice. So they can do that. We have, obviously when travel opens up and everything, people can get on a plane, they can fly to New York for meetings, they can fly to Denver, wherever it is they want to go and spend 2 days in meetings, come back and their family is enjoying this kind of environment every day of their lives. And so people can make that lifestyle choice. And because of communications, virtual meetings, all of this stuff, they're able to do that. I also think, obviously, with just the amount of stress of people living in close proximity to each other, hopefully not my case, but I think you're going to find there's going to be a fair amount of divorce. I think you're going to find that there's the opportunity, there's going to be downsizing, there's going to be upsizing, where people have the opportunity to upgrade. They might take a hit on their existing property, but they might have more buying power going into a new property and a better one. You're going to find people that are going to reevaluate their space and needs at home. The truth is, we all have to actually think about a potential second wave. So, you know, you want people, they're going to be thinking about, you know, what happens if I'm in this predicament again, whether it's this year or next year or in 5 years. And so I think all of these things are going to create reasons for us to have conversations with customers and clients with respect to their properties. The other thing is that I just made a couple of quick notes. One thing that's really interesting that I heard, and I think it's real because, you know, obviously Kim and I are a little older, and now obviously there's a lot of, you know, you've got the millennials coming through, and millennials as buyers of property, generally the feeling was that they didn't want to own. They were people who just didn't want to own assets. They wanted small places, very efficient, and all of this. And one of the things that I've been hearing is that that mindset has changed in the millennials. They're understanding the value of home and the value of having your own space. And so I think you might find that that attitude historically as a millennial and their buying attitude might change somewhat because of this process. The other thing that I've made a note of, which is obviously there's going to be foreclosures and things like that. So people have to pick those up as opportunities. Investors I mean, they started calling within a week, you know, like saying, hey, listen, let us know if there are any deals. And it's like, dude, how could you expect there to be any deals? I mean, it's week one, you know, and they're still sitting there ready to go and they're looking for opportunities, and the market hasn't adjusted its price, because until you actually get out of this, who knows? And the market starts coming back and there's activity, you're not going to know what the market, where it resets and everything. So it's way too early for that. But there was a really good article that was in the UK, and the Home Secretary went and talked about the housing market in Britain. And what he said was, it's a very small paragraph later on in the article, because it's a long article, it was May 13th. But what he said was, he basically said that that the real estate industry is one of the most important keys to coming out of any crisis. Any crisis. So you're all in the right industry, right? We're all in the right industry. It's about leveraging that and being able to take advantage of that opportunity and making sure that we're the ones connecting with the buyers and sellers. And it's correct. And I think if you look in your own markets and you look what happens after events and what the reaction is in the industry and what it creates, I think you'll see the same thing.
Thank you, James. Christina, we're ready for your Q&A, but before that, I think, James, I think it's funny that you said that there will be a lot of divorces. Not me. Just in
well,
case.
I'm just saying, at the moment, I'm good. Who knows in another week or two, man? I mean, Christ.
Just in
I got two teenagers and a young one, so it's
there
pretty mental here.
That's just in case Jerry listens to the recording, right? Don't want to get in trouble. Okay, Christina, we're ready for Q&A.
All right. So there are a lot of good questions. One that I see, because we only have about 10 minutes left, one that I have seen a couple of times is, any words of encouragement or advice for new agents?
Kim, you want to go or you want me to go?
Oh, you go ahead, James.
All right, new agents. The way I see it is that you know, when you start going into the business of real estate, there's so much forward planning and so much time you have to spend, you know, whether it's on education, whether it's on tools, systems, processes, building your database, collecting things together, developing a marketing plan, all of those things, right? it's huge. And the truth is, it takes time, right? And you know, I don't know anyone who's done it in a month. That ain't happening. It's generally kind of takes at least sort of 3 to 6 months to kind of get that all ramped up properly and start having an idea. And then you want to speak to other people who are in your office and other people in the industry so you can get some feelers and ideas as to, are you going in the right direction or not when you're building these plans? And so in my mind, this is the absolute perfect opportunity because the market's effectively standing still. So you're not missing out on anything, but what you're doing is you're the one who are untouched, haven't been don't have any preset mindsets as to what to expect, what to do. And also right now, because of a crisis and the marketplace changing and also how we're going to do business, you have that ability to react to that. And so what it means is you're going to be positioned going forward probably better than any of us, because most of us, like old dogs like Kim, me, a slightly younger one, are we're going to have to retool slightly. So we're learning new things, new tech, new ways of doing things. And so it's changing. And that's for the older guys, I think, guys, you have to adapt. We all have to adapt. We've got to change. You can't afford to do the same thing, because when we come out of this, sadly it's not going to be what it was. It's different. It's already different. And so that's my 2 cents worth.
Exactly.
Andy.
I just quickly add something. New agents, you're starting at the best time ever. I mean, I started in 1990 into real estate in Grand Cayman. There was a Gulf War, a recession in the US, oil prices shot through the roof. There was like nothing going on. It was what everyone thought the worst time. It's actually the best time. If you have passion and drive, and the only way you're going to make it in this industry is you have to love what you're doing. You have to be passionate about this business, and you have to be driven. If you're not, then this is not the business for you. However, if it is, this is going to be your proving grounds. I mean, if you can make it through this difficult time and hang in there, survive, even start to prosper and do better, when it gets good, you're going to knock it out of the park. I mean, this is the best possible time as a new agent. You can start and feel your way and be driven and show your passion for this business and integrate yourself into the market. And as it starts getting better, you're going to do tremendously well, because you started in fire. You didn't start in roses. So it's better to start in fire than in roses, because as things get better, you're going to excel. As things get bad, you've been there. You started in that. You know how to handle that. So good for you. Hang in there. Be smart. And anything that anyone can help you with, don't be afraid to ask. Ask any question you have on your mind, whether you think it's dumb or not. There are no dumb questions. Just ask and learn this business, and learn it while it's tough right now, and you guys will do great.
Thank you, Kim. Christina, if we go beyond the hour, and if James and Kim are okay with this, we can extend beyond the hour. And if somebody needs to leave, well, they have to leave, right? So go on, Christina. Next Q&A, please.
Okay. Well, I would like to know if James and Kim are okay with going past before we go. You good?
I'm really busy right now, but I think I can squeeze out some time. I wish I was
go
really
chase
busy.
that dog around, man.
I'm good for about another 6 hours.
All right. So Darren Doyle from Panama asks, well, he says, we all understand the power of Remax, but for our guests today who have not yet joined our family, what would you say to them? What is the one big thing that sets Remax apart from our competitors?
I didn't get the question. You go ahead, James.
Yeah, basically, she was just asking what sets us apart from our competitors as a brand at the end of the day. Yeah, I think the truth is, right, I mean, the easiest way to kind of see that is, I mean, here's a great example, but in essence, what I always encourage is that whenever we get a new agent, and I'm like, listen, you've got to come to convention immediately. Don't miss the first one. Go to the first one, because you will be Remaxized. And the thing that I've found is historically is that I, generally speaking, Remax people all have a very similar mindset. You know, they're very positive, they're outgoing, they're givers, they share. And so in my mind, I think those are some of the best things. I think we've got a very fortunate leadership in our brand as well. I remember in 2000 and what was it, 2009, going to a meeting, and I remember Dave Linnen standing up on stage and talking to us, and it was a small group that he'd invited to Denver, and he turned around and he said, guys, he said, you know what, he said, you know, we generally keep really good cash reserves. He said, and this is like when everything had gone to, and he turns around and he said, well, he said, we just purchased all of the media buy that Century 21 and Coldwell Bankers had in TV. Literally just stroked a check for $30 million. And whoosh. I mean, you know, so you've got a company that's still heavily privately owned. And so because of that, you've got leadership who can actually move and change and react to things rather than being purely driven by, I think, at the end of the day, just to share values and that, you know, pushing things in one direction or the other. The company has gone heavily into tools and systems and processes, which I think you're going to all start seeing as they roll out Booge and some other things as well. So I think we're definitely further ahead out there, and most of the other brands are backing off, devaluing, laying off people. Remax, nope, not a thing going forward. But it is the mindset of all of us and the unique, I mean, group of people that we are. Amazing. Well, yours, Kim.
No, that's fine. You covered it well.
Now I'm suspicious.
All right, so our friend Gabby Castillo from Nicaragua asks, how do you encourage agents who are sluggish?
Sorry, it cut out. I couldn't hear you.
She said, how do you encourage agents that are sluggish?
How do you encourage what that is sluggish?
Agents that are sluggish.
Beat 'em with a
Agents that
stick?
maybe shouldn't be in the business. How do you encourage those agents to get up off their asses and do something?
You know something, James made a good point. Maybe they shouldn't be in the business. Like I said just a few minutes ago, you need to be passionate about this business. This isn't the sort of business that is easy. We all know that have been in that. The new agents coming into that are seeing that right away. You really need to enjoy doing deals with people. You need to enjoy all the different aspects of the business. Sure, maybe not every aspect we all enjoy, but predominantly we love this business. The longer you're at this business, the easier it gets, and generally the more money you make and the better lifestyle you have, and you actually work less. I mean, I make really good income. I do extremely well. Generally, I work, you know, 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Sure, when I'm at home, I'm on my email, I'm on my WhatsApp, I'm still responding to different things in that, but generally I work about 9 to 5. Now that's after about, you know, 30 years of being in this business, and I do extremely well. I'm very, very proud of that, but I worked for that and earned that. So the bottom line is, if you're sluggish and you can't get into it, become a bank teller, become you know, a warehouse worker, do something else, because this is not a business where you want to be sluggish. If you're sluggish in this business, you're going to get eaten up. So you need to have that drive. You need to have that passion. You need to like what you're doing, and you need to see the end goal, which is a better lifestyle for you and your family, and something that when you get up in the morning, you want to get into the office. You can't get into the office fast enough. And after 30 years, I'm still that way. When I get up in the morning, I want to get ready and get going. I want to get into the office because that's fun. I'm going to have fun. And you know, you just need to have the right mindset for this business. But anybody that's sluggish, you know, unless you can turn that around, drink a lot of coffee, whatever it takes, and get your passion and get your drive going, don't waste your time. You're going to waste a lot of time in a business that requires people to be enthusiastic and passionate about what they're doing, because enthusiasm is contagious. And if you're sluggish, your customers, your clients are going to see that in you, and you're not going to make it.
I really only have one thing to add, Gabby. At the end of the day, it's something that you know, we say in interviews when we ask people, you know, or let them know. Because, you know, like Kim said, I mean, we're very passionate about what we do. Our agents are very passionate about their business, and dealing with customers and clients is awful as it can be sometimes, but they love what they do. And ultimately, the truth is that, you know, you have to sit them down and just ask the question and just say, you know, listen, I can't want this more than you do. If you don't want this, then you are in the wrong place. Because I found myself breaking my balls trying to encourage, support, motivate some agents, and it wasn't their thing, or maybe our space wasn't the right thing for them. Who knows? But ultimately, you know, we ended up parting company. That's okay. There's others out there who are passionate, who are going to buy into what you're doing and what you have to offer, and appreciate your leadership and support and encouragement. So I think at the end of the day, just letting them know that, you know, you can't want it more than they do.
It's not for everyone.
Nope.
Great point. Yeah. Another question someone asked was, what are some of the basic soft call topics you or your team talk about with your customers when you make those soft calls?
Did you hear that, Kim?
Again,
Okay,
for some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing the questions.
All right. Christina was just saying that, how do you handle like soft calls? What do you say on a soft call to a past client or customer?
A soft call?
Yeah. Well, you don't do soft calls, Kim, so
No,
that wouldn't work for you.
Soft call is.
It's like, hey, you're going to buy, you're going to sell. You got two choices here.
You go ahead, answer it, and I can add if I have any comments.
Well, the truth is the soft call is really simple. It's like, you know, you just, hi, Bob, James here. Oh, hey, James, how you doing? I said, Bob, yeah, great, man. Just, you know, I know we're all going through this. It's a very difficult time and everything. And just thought I'd give you a call and just see how you're doing and how your family is. You know, is everything okay up there? Do you have information on what's going on? You know, and it just takes it from there, really. Just open the door. You know, we're all salespeople at the end of the day. You don't just leave the sales hat apart and just kind of look at them as a friend and just with concern. You know, what would you ask someone? What would you just say if you called? Like, that's the other thing, by the way, which most of us have forgotten to do. I don't know if you did, but, you know, I haven't been calling my family. I haven't been calling my friends, you know, as much as I historically would have, because you just kind of run into them, see them, and you interact. And so it's really important to reach out to them as well. So I'd look at your customers and clients as you were calling a friend and just checking in with them to see how they're doing. And that'll soften the whole approach.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't really have much to add. Anytime I call somebody, even just asking them how they're doing, how their family is, I always mention something. I can't help myself. Like, you know, any good opportunities coming up, I'll let you know about it. By the way, that property you were looking at, I'll get back to you later on that. I mean, I don't talk to anyone without probably saying something about real estate to at least pick their interest a little bit, but I can be subtle at sometimes. Cocktail parties, maybe.
It kind of comes round though to the conversation.
Yeah,
inevitably they ask you that question. It's just not your lead. It's just not the way you approach it. But ultimately they end up asking, hey, what's going on in Cayman? It's like, well, we're in lockdown right now. And then you go through everything with them.
So thank you, guys. And I believe that Christina needs to leave. You know, she has 2 young children, my grandchildren. And but she asked that I take over, so now I am in trouble. Okay, now I'm gonna go through.
See you, Christina.
Bye, Christina.
Thank you, Christina. You did a great job. Now I'm browsing through the chat box here. Chris Edwards says, Grenada government is allowing real estate to operate. So we can go out in the field to conduct business from 9 to 5. Yay, nice, that's very cool, Renata. Mark Gauss, be positive, don't let negativity fester in your office. Absolutely, thank you, great comment, Mark. I love when you took me to your church at the beach, on the beach. It's a beach church. It was amazing. The best church I've ever been to. Let me see what else we got. I'm looking for questions. And maybe we don't have many more questions, guy. Let's see. Isenia Valdez says, I don't know where she's from, but she says, good morning, everyone. Thank you for this weekly meeting. I am a new agent, and this lifted up my spirit. Oh, we're so happy to hear this. We'll take this recording to listen over and over. Greetings from love from Belize. Awesome. Isenia, we're happy that you're enjoying this. Terry, you have to say something?
Mike Simons has a question.
Mike Simons has a question. Let me see it. Where is it? I don't see it. Can you read it or point it to me?
Over here. What should this one?
Where? Okay. Mike Simons from Costa Rica says, good morning. Thanks for the fantastic information. What should or can a new agent do to grow their market share? Well, we went through this one already. Thank you. Let me see what else we got. Otherwise, we will wrap up in a moment. Thank you.
What can
Okay.
we do to lead the agents?
Okay. Question from the brokers, because in the audience we have brokers and we have agents as well. What should the brokers be doing to lead their agents? As in their leadership role, what should they be doing with their agents? And that's probably going to be the last question, guys. So, James and Kim, what do you think of this?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I guess I can just share with you what we're doing at the end of the day, because I don't choose to know any better than anyone else. But I think the number one thing is making sure that we're keeping our agents positive, and looking to the future as well. Kim actually is the one who's on the WhatsApp, keeping in touch. We have a WhatsApp group so that we keep everyone motivated there. Obviously, there's a fair amount of comments in reference to cocktail hour. So it's has a nice, more relaxed feel to it and everything. But then on the other hand, we also, we send out a weekly kind of just a newsletter, and we kind of go through the different events for the week. And also we point to different things that Remax International is also showing, as well as to how to deal or how to learn new things. So a lot of training stuff, different presentations. We have presentations where we'll have a speaker get online just like this, and they'll talk to us about their experiences or about the industry or what's going on or marketing systems. So we'll do that as well. We also have our standard weekly meeting, which we've always had. I think that's been going for nearly 30 years now on Tuesday mornings. The time of day has changed from 8 to 9. And so we do a Zoom call every Tuesday at 9, and we go through a whole heap of things. A lot of information is being shared about what's going on with the environment as far as the challenges and when are we coming out and how we're coming out and what's going on with the real estate association. And I'm on the board. That's something that I would say to a broker, that you might want to get involved in your real estate association so that you can actually have some input in these things. Behind the scenes, I actually spend a lot of time. I know Kim's also talking to ministers and things like that because he's got friends in those spaces as well. I'm working with different groups and committees to help kind of drive things forward and get things opened up and get us out of this as well. So behind the scenes, there's a lot goes on that I'm afraid that the agents aren't necessarily aware of all the time that you spend doing these things. But they're good. They know that we're working to get out of this and to make, try and position ourselves as best as possible. So I think more than anything else, what an agent wants from their broker in a time like this is communication. They want to know that they're accessible, that they're talking to them, that they're available, that they understand their challenges at this time and are sympathetic and can also try and do what they can to assist or help. That doesn't necessarily mean give everything away, because none of us can do that. But it does mean that, trying to think slightly differently or look at things in a different way, and just being there as well. Landy.
Thank you. Yes, don't bury your head in the sand, right? Yeah. Be available. Kim, closing thoughts about leadership?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, the agents are the lifeblood of this industry. The agents are really what makes this industry work. Us as a company, we're only as strong as our weakest agent. So we want all our agents to be strong. We want them to be successful. And James summarized it very well. We communicate constantly with every one of our agents. I mean, we're in touch with them through this crisis, probably more, and not probably, definitely more than we would be normally when everyone's busy and doing their business and running around. So the key is to lead by example. We direct the flow of conversation to a certain extent in terms of being on the positive side and not on the negative side. Let's face it, this is a tough time for everyone, and our agents are all communicating among themselves with us involved, and sometimes the conversation can start going negative and head down a wrong path. That's not what anyone wants. We need to be aware of that, definitely, but us as brokers in terms of leadership have to use our experience and our knowledge to try to help our agents in terms of having the right mind frame and direction, so that as we start pulling out of this, they're in a positive headspace, a positive mindset to be able to capitalize on this, instead of being too negative and looking at all the struggles that, let's face it, we're all going through. So basically just trying to keep everyone on the same page, but communication, super important, absolutely critical. James is excellent at that. He puts together the calls, he puts together the groups, he makes sure that we all stay in touch. So if I had to say one thing, it's communicate, but communicate positively, but realistically as well.
Realistically as well. Love it. Thank you so much. Okay, you guys, this was amazing. You should have seen James and Kim. You probably haven't seen the chat, but you should. Everybody's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. People want to watch the recording. They are going to share. This was very good. Thank you. With that, I will just announce our speaker for next Friday is going to be Shauna Gilbert from RE/MAX Global Headquarters. Shauna is the person that leads all of the RE/MAX agents and offices and regions outside the United States. So I think that's going to be a treat as well. With that, thank you guys. I want to wish you happy Friday.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Perfect.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you very much.
Appreciate all your time and for listening
good luck,
to us.
everyone, man. Keep positive
wishing you
mindset
all the
and go
best.
for it.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
See you on stage next year.
Yes.
Hell yeah. And we will have a large party.
Amen. Amen. Quedemos un ratito aquí, pero voy a parar la grabadora.
Esa pregunta del living la hice yo.
Espérame un segundito, porfa. Y la grabadora, ¿dónde la paro? Stop recording. Do you want to stop cloud recording?